Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video. I am going to have a sit down chat video. It might be boring to some people, but I hope it at least finds one person that finds it useful. I'm going to talk today about unplanned pregnancies and my journey with my unplanned and unexpected pregnancy. I debated doing this video because it's quite a vulnerable topic, and I don't think that everyone should know everything about my life, but I remember going through this journey, and when I found out I was pregnant, I felt a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, and I went online to look for resources or people that have gone through similar things. And I found it strangely blank. I found like there wasn't that much content, and the pregnancy content that I found, it was a lot of, beautiful women with these families that they were planned and they're perfect and awesome, and it just didn't reflect what was going on in my life at the moment. And I kind of just wish that there was more content to make me feel less alone, because I know that it's something like 50% of pregnancies are actually unplanned. So I know I'm not the only one, but I did feel very alone in that time. So if you don't know anything about me, my name is Lizzie. I'm currently 33 weeks pregnant today, which is really exciting, heading into the last stage. I'm 24. I was 23 when I found out I was pregnant. I was living in America, and I was completing my master's degree whilst training for my second Olympic Games in springboard diving. So like my day pretty much looked like I'd wake up in the morning, train, I'd study in the afternoons, and then I would train again, come home, study type thing. And ever since I was little, I was aiming for the 2020 Olympics. That was kind of my goal. I went in 2016, and that was an amazing experience. Completely unexpected experience, but completely amazing. But these Olympics, the 2020 Olympics, were the ones that I was, narrow focused in on. And when COVID happened, my plans shifted, and the delay, of course, everyone felt that. It was really devastating to me. I had already qualified for the Olympics, so at least I had the hope of going in 2021. But life has a funny way of tripping you up sometimes, and I think it was the end of March or the beginning of April I found out I was expecting a baby. Something that I never thought would happen to me, as you do. You never think these things kind of happen to you until they do, and you're just kind of left to deal with them. But I remember feeling strange those few weeks before I found out I was pregnant. I went to the school women's center, and they told me that I had a cyst on my left ovary, and it kept growing, and it was making me feel strange, and I was feeling pains in my stomach. And I was like, okay, well, this cyst is making me feel this way. And they wanted me to start some treatment to help reduce the cyst, and they told me to take a pregnancy test to, make sure that I'm not pregnant before I take these meds. And the results came back positive. So I had 2 positive pregnancy tests, and I just remember having no words. I was in complete shock. I thought it was a joke. I thought I was dreaming. And then I took another one because I thought maybe this is wrong. I took another one and it was negative, So I called my healthcare provider and I said, so I've had 2 positives, 1 negative. What should I do? They told me to come into the clinic straight away so that they could do some tests. And they did a urine test and then a blood test. The urine test came back really quickly and it was negative. So, I talked on the phone again and she said, I'm pretty confident that you're okay, that you're not pregnant. Your urine sample came back negative, but we have to make sure about the blood test just in case. So I waited, and I think it was like 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 hours later, I got a phone call and she said, your blood results came back and you're positive for pregnancy. And I said, what does that mean? I had negative results. And she said, no, nothing trumps a blood test. You're 100% pregnant. And it was such a roller coaster of emotions. I started, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Oh, maybe I'm not pregnant. Thinking the coast is clear. I dodged a bullet. That's kind of what was going in my head. And right back up there to be told that I was pregnant. And I really couldn't believe it. It's just one of those times in your life where you're like, is this really happening to me? I was scared, nervous, angry. I just sat on the ground in the bathroom floor and I didn't know what to do. I was shaking. I was so surprised. I was speechless. And so that's kind of how it went on my side. The dad of the baby, his name's Ryan. We are together now. Back then, so I broke up with my ex-boyfriend around December, January. I really loved him and we had an awesome time, but relationships don't always work out. And it was just what we decided was best at the time, and we broke up. So I was really sad. I was going through this, breakups aren't easy for anyone, but I was really sad about it. And Ryan was a really good friend. We lived together, but he was just a friend, and we were always hanging out in the living room watching movies and talking and stuff, and he was really supportive of me in this time. And a few months later, things started to progressively get a little bit more than friends, and it was exciting. Of course, in a way it was a distraction for me, I'm not gonna lie. And I was never like lying to Ryan about where I was at. I was always saying I'm not ready for a relationship. I scatter all around the place. And at the time he's saying he wasn't ready for a relationship either. We were both in college and he didn't know what he wanted to do after college. And so we were just at this mutual agreement that we were friends, but we decided we had, feelings for one another, and just to see how things go, as you do in this day and age. And, we kept hanging out, kept growing our connection, and one thing led to another, and we found ourselves in this situation. And I remember his face, because when I told him, I remember screaming downstairs. I said, Ryan, come here. It's positive. And he's like, what? And I was like, look. He looked at the pregnancy test and he backed away, and he was like running his hands through his hair, and as you can imagine, very shocked, just as I was. And I remember him apologizing to me, and I did appreciate that, actually. I know that it was a mutual decision, and every action has a consequence, but I did appreciate that. And he never was angry. at me or the situation. He was always, we can get through this, tell me what you need me to do. And I really couldn't ask for a better response in that situation. So anyway, we get through, and he's continuing to be supportive, and he tells me whatever I want to do, I can do. And I'm just so confused at this time. I am angry at him, at myself, at everything. I had no idea what to do. And he was very patient, which I really, really appreciate. But I had this decision to make, and I was just feeling so hopeless at that time. I think that was the biggest feeling. I felt like such a disappointment to myself, to my family, to the Olympics, to Ryan, to everyone. I felt like I'm a failure, because this was not what a child is not a joke. It is a huge commitment, life-changing, the biggest life change possibly ever. And I was not planning on having kids till in my 30s. I didn't even see them in my future, really. I knew I wanted them, but I could not have predicted that I would get pregnant at 23. I still felt like a kid. Honestly, I really did. I still felt like a kid. I still feel like a kid in a way. This experience has changed me in a number of ways, but at that time I really felt like, so now I'm just going to tell everyone that I'm going to have a child instead of go to the Olympics, which at the time I was the only one who had qualified for New Zealand. So I felt like the whole weight of the country almost was on my shoulders. I was like, wow, I couldn't even not get pregnant. Which sounds funny, but it's exactly how I was feeling. Luckily, everyone around me, the people that cared about me were really, really supportive. And especially Ryan. I was not thinking about him at this time. I was being very selfish and thinking about me and what does this mean for my life. And that's kind of what that stress kind of does. And I'm sure he was thinking about what does this mean for his life. But at that time, all I could think about was myself and what does this mean for me. So in the next few days, I did a lot of reflection. I like to journal, and I called my mom, I called my friends, a few of my really good friends that I trust. But ultimately I knew the decision was mine. And of course Ryan's, I asked him what he wanted, and he said that he would love to have this baby with me, and he knew that we would work it out. And that was very, very, very reassuring. But ultimately he said the decision was mine, and even though he said the decision was mine, I couldn't just make that decision myself. It was our decision. But I sat on it, thought about it, and for me personally, there was no way that I could have terminated my pregnancy. I know people make that decision all the time, but personally, in my situation, as scary as it was, I knew that this baby was going to change my life in many ways, but in probably the most positive way of my life as well. I knew that I would never regret having a baby, no matter missing the Olympics or the guilt and the shame and the struggle that I would deal with, because I'm an adult. I made this decision, and I'm going to see it through. Ryan is supportive. I knew that we were going to make good parents. It was just so sudden that I was so nervous about it. And I really couldn't wrap my head around it, even throughout my pregnancy. Even right now, it's still very hard to wrap my head around. And it was hard for Ryan and I because we weren't dating. I was still grieving a past relationship. He was navigating school and his career and his life, and all of that was changing. And so I thought, what does this mean for like us? Are we just going to be together now? And this is like kind of hard to talk about because it's not the traditional form of how things go and how things are meant to go, but this is just the truth of the situation. And this is like my truth, this is my story about how we got here. And I remember, telling Ryan, I want to keep the baby. I want us to do this, but also expressing to him very clearly how nervous I was and how scared I was, and all the in-between. And I could tell that he was really scared too, but he was holding it all together so that he could be there for me. And I remember I said, I think we should tell your parents. Because my parents were here in New Zealand. We were in America. I didn't have anyone. I felt really alone in this, like a disappointment and alone. And I didn't have anyone that like really, really cared about me at that time. At least that's how I felt. And we went to meet Ryan's parents for dinner, and Ryan just kind of came out with it. Like we hadn't told anyone that we were like a little more than friends. We were just trying to see how it went. We didn't want to rush anything, ironically. And Ryan's mum started crying, and at first I was like, are these happy tears or are these sad tears? But turns out they were happy tears, and she was so over the moon. And I probably remember that for the rest of my life, because I remember feeling so relieved and like so supported. And she was saying baby is such a blessing, and she was so happy. And both of his parents like welcomed me into the family, and I just been saying like, whatever you need, we're here for you. And that helped me to breathe and to just feel less scared of the future. The support that I received from Ryan and his family made all the difference in this situation. And of course my friends as well. Anyone that was really supportive of me, which was pretty much everyone. I could tell in a few people, almost all of them, that they were shocked and scared for me, but overall supportive. And that made all the difference. And I'm so thankful for that. And even through this whole process, they've been nothing but supportive. And my family too. Everyone's so excited about this baby, and I'm really excited now. It wasn't always like that. The beginning of my pregnancy, I felt so sick, so nauseous, like every single second of the day I couldn't eat. It got so bad, and I was experiencing some depression, because I think not just because of the fluctuating hormones, but also because of my situation and giving up the Olympics, and just something that I really loved doing was training, and I loved diving, and all of a sudden I couldn't do any of that. So I was just in my bed constantly, or by the bathroom, head in a bucket, wishing for another day to pass. There'd be times that Ryan would text me saying, "What are you doing?" And it would be like 10 a.m. and I'd be like, just waiting for another day to pass. And it's like so sad to think about, but it was a very hard time. And I'm not, please don't get me wrong, I am not taking away from pregnancy and the beauty of life and how lucky I am to be able to conceive a child. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm not here to talk on behalf of every pregnant woman. I'm just here to share my own story and my experience with pregnancy and dealing with an unexpected pregnancy. So it was really hard, and it was earlier than I wanted to tell people. I think it was around 10 weeks, but I got some messages from like my Diving New Zealand, and they were saying, you know, we kind of got to announce, or like, what do you want us to say about the Olympics and stuff like that. And I really wanted it to be from me, but it just felt so rushed. And so I came out with an Instagram post announcing my pregnancy, but it felt so inorganic in a way, and just like the pregnancy itself, like rushed, and the whole thing just made me feel so uncomfortable in a way. And I've always been pretty good at not caring what people think about me, but there were definitely some times where I felt really judged and really uncomfortable, and maybe a lot of that came from my head, maybe some of that came from people, but I had to keep reminding myself that the people that really cared about me, the people that were there for me, supported my decision, supported me, and were really excited about the baby in the future. So that really helped me get through. Just drinking matcha, it's so good. I think it's like one of my new favorite drinks. But yeah, so that kind of all happened. Slowly after, the post, we started millions of messages, and explaining to people and talking to people, and I just felt like I had to explain myself to everyone, but I don't even know what I was explaining because it was all happening so fast. I was just trying to do my best. Ryan was just trying to do his best. All of Ryan's family was so supportive, like I said, and my coach was really supportive. He was shocked, as he would be, but he was really supportive. And those next few months were quite crazy. I told Ryan I decided I really want to be home in New Zealand. I just felt like I didn't have anyone here, and my body was going through so many changes. I hadn't seen my family in like a year and a half. The Olympics were going on. I was all over the place. I just really wanted to be home in somewhere that I felt safe, and I just felt this urge to come home. And Ryan, as supportive as he is, just said, I'm coming with you. So, and that says so much about him, because he has never really been out of the country except the Bahamas. And then he was going to fly all the way to New Zealand to be with me and support me. And I couldn't have asked for that. I couldn't have expected that. That's what you want, And so we came here, and now we are here, and it has been a crazy journey since. Not just like navigating this pregnancy, but navigating one another. We were friends that hung out in the kitchen and the living room, to now new parents to be, navigating one another and being together. And we decided, I had the idea, and Ryan said yes, to do online like marriage counseling, or like relationship counseling, just to navigate one another. I really didn't want this for us to fall apart under such pressure, and I wanted us to work together, and we were on the same page from the beginning about that. Like, we wanted to come together and do the best that we can for our daughter, which can be daunting with everything. But so far, I think, every day is a new struggle. Every day is a new blessing, and we work through it together. Not every day is perfect. These months have probably been some of the hardest of both of our lives, just navigating the so unexpected nature of everything. and now Ryan being in New Zealand, you know, so far away from home, and we just taking one day at a time, trying to prepare for our girl to be here. And we do argue at times, but one thing has been consistent: we have showed up every day for one another, and we never stop putting in effort for one another, learning about one another, being together, and we are committed to one another and to raising our daughter. Despite the unexpected nature of it, life works in crazy ways. So many crazy ways. Just thinking back, I like to journal a lot, so I read my old journal entries, and how things have happened have been crazy, but they've always worked out for a purpose, I feel like. They've always worked out either for me to learn something about myself or to pursue something that I wouldn't have gone towards, you know, if it was just my decision and things went exactly how I planned. Nothing really has gone to my plan, and this has been the biggest disruption of all. Never in a million years would have predicted this kind of situation going on, and I'm still navigating what that means, but for now it means that I'm going to be a mum, and I'm so excited about it. Like, every day I think about it, and every day is closer. I'm 33 weeks now, less than 2 months to go. I'm nervous about giving birth, of course, but I know deep in my heart that everything's going to be okay, and that my daughter is going to be good, and she's going to be loved by everyone, and that puts a lot of peace in my heart and allows me to breathe a little bit. So it's been a rough few months, and I know that it's going to, like, having a baby is going to continue having challenges for the rest of my life, really. But I know it's going to be worth it. I really do. And I just know that deep down. And I know that Ryan and I are going to be good parents, and we're really going to try at this. So if anyone made it to this point in the video, I know it's a long video, I just want you to know that you're not alone in feeling the way you do. A lot of pregnancies are unplanned, and whatever you decide to do, it's okay. You just have to make a decision and go with it and do your best. That's all anyone can really ask for you to do, is just to do your best, and it will work out. So it may seem impossible right now, but coming from a place of such uncertainty and so much fear and tears and anger to a place now where I can sit here and reflect on it and be excited for my new future that I never saw coming, is really exciting. And it just shows you how much you can change. I feel like I've changed so much in this short period of time into a better version of myself, a different version of myself, but I know it's the version of myself that I'm meant to be at this time. Yeah. I hope that all made sense, and I hope I touched on all of the things that I wanted to talk about. I never planned any of this. This is just coming straight from my mind to you guys. One take, very raw video of how everything went. But yeah, if you have any questions, if you made it this far in the video, if you have any questions, please let me know. I want to use my experiences to help anyone in this situation, or if you're just curious and you have a question, shoot away. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or night.